Today I'm going to show you how to make these adorable turkey cupcakes. They have all the fall colors, but inside it's a moist and fluffy chocolate cupcake that you will die for. Okay, let's get started. We're starting off our batter by sifting the dry ingredients into the bowl of our standing mixer, beginning with 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 1/3 cup of granulated sugar, 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Definitely don't forget the cocoa powder when you're making a chocolate cake. 1/3 cup of a high-quality cocoa powder. Okay, give it a sift. We're going to give this a quick whisk and then set aside. Cloud of cocoa powder. Now we're going to mix the wet ingredients into a bowl, and of course, I'm just going to remind you that in a chocolate cake, the butter rarely comes through, and that's why a lot of them are oil-based, like mine. Okay, 1/3 cup of vegetable oil. This recipe calls for 1/2 cup of buttermilk, but I'm out of buttermilk. Sometimes use buttermilk powder, but in case you don't have that handy, you can also just squeeze a little bit of lemon juice into the milk, and that'll help curdle it. And what buttermilk is really like an acidic milk. Give it a little bit of a whisk. Okay, now let's add that in. Healthy splash of vanilla, 2 medium eggs. Love those yolks. 1/4 cup of sour cream. Before I add my hot coffee in, I'm going to give this a little whisk so the eggs don't get cooked. Just so you know, it's always nice to add in warmer ingredients when you're making a cake so that it'll bake more evenly and a little bit more quickly. You don't want to put ice cold batter into an oven because the center will take a lot longer to cook. Now I'm going to add 3/4 cup of hot, very strong coffee from my mocha pot. This is basically espresso, just so you know. If you don't want to use coffee in this recipe, go ahead, skip it. You could use warm water, you could use more milk. Any liquid is basically fine. Coffee will bring out the chocolate flavor though. So when you eat this cake, you're not tasting a mocha chocolate cake or a coffee cake. You're just going to taste a chocolatey chocolate cake. I promise, even though it seems like you're adding a lot of coffee in there. Also, if you're worried about the caffeine or if you're feeding it to kids and you don't want them hyped up, just go ahead and use decaf coffee. Okay. That's all mixed up, and we're going to set it aside. Oh, but it smells so good. I could drink this right now. Living that dad life. Okay, right, let's add that paddle attachment on. Now, while this is mixing on like medium-low, level 2, we're going to add the wet to the dry. All right, I'm gonna let this mix for like a minute longer, but I wanna scrape the bottom down just in case there's any flour hanging out there that's not getting mixed. Oh my, this batter smells so good. I can't even tell you. You have to make this recipe. Couldn't decide which papers to use, so I have gold and red, but not in that order. Okay. I'm using an ice cream scoop to add about the same amount of batter to each cupcake. I find it's really the neatest way because this gets so messy, especially when your batter is liquidy like this chocolate batter is. This is like that batter where you're like, oh my gosh, it's pure liquid. How is it gonna turn into a solid? But it does, magically. My first batch of cupcakes is ready to go into the oven at 350 for maybe 20, 30 minutes. We'll see. The center has to be set. While my cupcakes are baking in the oven, I'm going to whip up a quick batch of American buttercream for the decorations. You could use Italian buttercream if you want, and you can click up at the top of the screen for my How to Make Italian Buttercream video, but American buttercream is going to be really nice to pipe, and it's not going to be too delicate, so I can fudge around with it and not worry, if that makes sense. Paddle attachment, 1 pound of unsalted butter at room temperature into your standing mixer. That's 4 sticks for us in America. Give it a little mix to cream it together. My butter is nice and creamy, so we're going to take it off of the standing mixer and then sift in about 2 pounds of confectioner sugar. Whoa, 2 pounds of sugar, that's so much. Well, it's divided into little tiny cupcakes, and this should be enough for my 18 cupcakes. So worry a little bit less. Also, it's the holidays. We're gonna add a little bit of sugar at a time so we don't have a giant mess. We all know that I'm a bit messy. I always like to sift powdered sugar when I'm making buttercream because nobody wants a clog in their piping tip. If that happens, it can get really gnarly and frustrating, and baking should be easy and pleasurable, not frustrating. Put that back on and mix. On low. You can add a splash of vanilla in at this point too. Okay. Back to sifting. All right, back onto the mixer. Repeat that process. Okay, so I used like 1 2/3-ish. Take a look, the consistency is nice. You can see it's pretty strong. It doesn't have a lot of air bubbles in it, and it tastes good. American buttercream. Now I'm gonna divide this into several batches. A little bit of yellow for the feathers, a little bit of orange, red, brown for the feathers, probably some really dark brown for the body, and then that might be it. I'll leave a little bit of white just in case I want to pipe some eyes. To pipe this turkey's tail, I'm using small petal tips, so basically anything from like a 101 to a 103 will work fine. Just go back and forth to create some ripples. This will simulate feathers. I'm starting off with red, then I'm moving to orange, and finally yellow. For the turkey's neck and head, I'm using a large round tip or an 809, and just try and pipe it nice and smooth. Put an extra dollop on top for the head. For the whites of the eyes, I'm using a little bit of white buttercream, and then I'm popping in a mini chocolate chip upside down for that eyeball. Use that 101 tip with some yellow buttercream for the beak, and then just add in a little bit of red for the gobble. So I'm not gonna be eating these cupcakes on camera. I know, but I'm saving them for a special dinner, as you might imagine. Thanks so much for watching. Hit that like button. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe.